Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Voters outside the Sultanate and members of the working committees in the 9th Shura Council election to cast their votes tomorrow through smartphone remote voting application. The Sultanate reviews its experience and development proposals in the administrative fields before the Arab Administrative Development Organization in Morocco. And Turkish President threatens Syrian Kurds to pull out from areas of northeast Syria. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Voters outside the Sultanate and members of the working committees in the election will cast their ballots in the 9th Term Shura Council election through remote voting application. This application will be available on smartphones from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. The Ministry of Interior previously launched this application in the electronic platforms and will be accessible starting from tomorrow for the eligible voters, which enable them to cast their ballots remotely. Voters should have a valid ID card and SIM card through Apply the electronic certification system that operate on the mobile SIM card of the telecommunication companies operating in the Sultanate. The card must be activated via the web page of the National Digital Certification Centre. The Sultanate reviewed its experience and development proposals in the administrative fields during its chairmanship of the works of the 19th Annual Conference of the Arab Administrative Development Organization, which was held at Marrakesh City in Morocco. The activities of the conference kicked off this year under the theme Localizing Smart Infrastructure in the Arab Countries to Achieve Sustainable Development Horizon 2030. The choosing of the Sultanate to chair the conference this year came in recognition of the Sultanate's pioneering role in supporting joint Arab work. The Sultanate delegation was led by His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Omar Al Marhoun, Minister of Civil Defense. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Turkey will resume its offensive in northeast Syria in a more determined way if Syrian Kurdish fighters do not pull out from areas of northeast Syria at the end of the 5-day ceasefire. Speaking to foreign journalists today, Erdogan reiterated that Turkey would have no problem with Syrian government forces controlling some areas along Turkey's border, as long as these areas are cleared of Syrian Kurdish fighters that Turkey considered as terrorists, due to their links to outlawed Kurdish militants in Turkey. Erdogan said Turkey's 9-day-long offensive has resulted in the death of 4 soldiers and 74 Turkish-backed Syrian fighters. He claimed that the Turkish forces had neutralized around 750 Syrian Kurdish fighters. The Turkish leader said Turkey and allied Syrian opposition forces captured some 65 settlements, including the towns of Tal Abyad and Ras Al Ain. The United Nations said Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomed any effort to de-escalate the situation in northeastern Syria and protect civilians. UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric said that the Secretary General recognizes that there is still a long way to go for an effective solution to the crisis in Syria. He added that Guterres is aware of the discussions between US Vice President Mike Pence and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, which led to the announcement of a 5-day ceasefire. Turkey launched an offensive against Kurdish fighters who had been allied with US forces in their campaign against the Daesh extremist group. The incursion began after the US President Donald Trump announced the withdrawal of American forces from northern Syria. US and Turkey agreed to a 5-day ceasefire in northern Syria, during which Kurdish fighters would withdraw to roughly 20 miles away from the Turkish border. After winning support of the European Union leaders for his new Brexit deal, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is back in London to try to secure backing from the fractious British Parliament. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab was up early drumming up support. He said they've got a real opportunity now to get Brexit delivered faithfully to the referendum, move on as a government and lift the clouds of Brexit. He said the government has not given up hope of winning the support of its Northern Ireland ally, the Democratic Unionist Party, which has rejected the New Deal. The Japanese government has postponed a procession due after an enthronement ceremony as the country grapples with the aftermath of Typhoon Hagibis, which hit over the weekend, causing the death of at least 78 people. Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako are now scheduled to ride in an open-top Toyota Century limousine through the central Tokyo on November 10th. Some 120,000 people, many waving national flags, lined the route to cheer Emperor Akihito and Empress Michiko as they passed by on a Rolls-Royce Corniche 3 after his enthronement. The United States started to levy tariffs on $7.5 billion worth of goods from the European Union today. The tariffs targeted civilian aircraft from Britain, France, Germany and Spain, 4 countries that formed Airbus. They also target other imports such as clothes, cheese, olive oil, wine, frozen meats and machine parts from the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain and Italy. Large civilian aircraft faces 10% tariffs, while the rest face 25%. According to a statement released by the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative on October 3rd. The U.S. move came after the country got permission from the World Trade Organization to impose retaliatory measures on the EU and 4 EU member states in the Airbus case. Back to local news, the ceremony was held in the Wilaya of Al-Awabi in the Governorate of South Batna to mark the opening of the new building for the Omani Women's Association in the Wilaya. The new building with its various facilities will contribute in achieving the goals of Omani Women's Association, as well as uplifting the women's sector. The opening of the new building coincided with the Sultanate celebration of Omani Women's Day, which falls on the 17th of October every year. A visual presentation showcased Oman's empowerment and belief in women as a companion in the nation's building process and a key partner in building the future of Oman. The ceremony was presided over by Her Excellency Sheikha Aisha bint Khalfan Al Siyabia, Chairperson of the Public Authority for Craft Industries. In the Wilaya of Kasab in the Governorate of Musandam, the activities of the main station for the Sultanate's participation in the 62nd International Scouts Camp and the 23rd Jamboree on the Internet. Over 2 million male and female scouts and guides are taking part in the event through wireless communication on the Internet. The first participation of the Sultanate Scouts was in 1991. The event is very important for the Sultanate Scouts and Guides in exchanging experiences with their counterparts from other world countries through using the latest communication technology. The communication technology enabled the Omani Scouts and Guides to communicate online with their counterparts from other world countries, which enabled them to have cultural interactions. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Voters outside the Sultanate and members of the Working Committee in the 9th Shura Council election to cast their votes tomorrow through smartphone remote voting application. The Sultanate reviews its experience and development proposals in the administrative fields before the Arab Administrative Development Organization in Morocco. And Turkish President threatens Syrian Kurds to pull out from areas of northeast Syria. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night.